Hey everyone, Switch Doubler. I have been curious about one thing about the G5. As we all know, back in G4 they used the gold coins called bits as a currency. But I happened to notice my attention that in G5 there were no any actual use of currency as much as it back in G4. I was curious because throughout the G4 they used bits as a form of currency. But in G5, I didn't notice there was no use of any coins at all. So I was like, why? But the fact is, we should mention that in G5, that Zephyr Heights, Bridlewood, and Mirtan Bay are now friends. But before the magic happened return, there were no friendship between those places, and ponies didn't even interacted with each other at all. Well, until much later on, though, of course, but still, that got me thinking, did they ponies even still use any actual physical currency, or did they somehow develop their own currency and stop using the old bits currency? With the considering that Zephyr Heights is its own independent monarchy, so is it possible they could have developed their own currency that was, you know, possible? I may have to think it is, but there is also another thing is I had to be thinking since now that the fact that it has been at least a few hundred years between G4 and G5 timeline. So with the lack of no actual physical currency in G5, is it possible they had stopped using physical currency altogether? You may be asking why I'm thinking like that. Well, in our world, we are using phones. And since they have developed social media, computers, and also phones all as well. So I was like, maybe they stopped using like physical currency, like coins, and using their phones in order to payment. Because now you can transfer money from your using your phones to places you go to, like I don't know, restaurants, cafes, stores, you name it. So is it possible that it could have used use the same thing, like develop that no need for any actual physical coins anymore, just use their phones? I mean, it's possible, but since you know the thing is, Bridlewood, they didn't use phones even before the magic returned. In fact, they even have electricity. So maybe they still use some form of currency as much of a payment. But I didn't notice that any of that back in G5, at least during the Make You Mark or Telltale series. But it's possible they couldn't use their own form of currency of a payment. What about Mirtan Bay? They used phones, but it's possible they couldn't use both. But then again, I don't know. It's possible that they could have used both or maybe only used their phones. Mirtan Bay is possible that. Brotherwood, I think they used some form of currency. Maybe not bits, maybe they made up their own. Zephyr Heights, they were likely to use their phones as payments, but what do you all think? That is all I want to say in this. This is Rich Diablo, over and out.